everybody. Welcome to the PVD Horror Podcast. I'm your host today. I am Dave, and I am joined with writer, director Nick Roth. I think also actor at
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Yeah,
a little bit.
a little bit, just a touch of acting.
Mostly writer, and then everything else just like if I have to.
Okay, so like whatever you're expected to do, but you enjoy writing, maybe we'll say that. How's that?
Yeah, like if I could like live in a cabin in Wyoming like Taylor Sheridan and just like type on the typewriter and then
Yeah,
send it off into the world or whatever and no script coordinators help at all, then like that would what a great fantasy. That sounds tremendous. I love that. But
sounds really
in
nice.
in the world of indie
Yeah,
horror filmmaking, you usually have to do a little bit more yourself.
absolutely. If you like all things horror and want to get the best horror news, interviews, and reviews,
Like, subscribe, and ring that bell to follow us and satisfy all your horror needs.
so Nick, you're here today joining me to discuss a new venture that you are embarking on, a little film we like to call Hanky Panky. I just love the title. It's just a very fun title. Hanky Panky is a horror comedy, and that will be releasing on April 19th anywhere that you can rent video on demand.
Yeah, it'll be on Apple, Amazon, Google, all the other ones with even funnier names than that, everywhere in time for your 420 weekend.
Yay. That's perfect. Also kind of in time for just after the 420 weekend. Nick, I just also kind of want to wish you a happy birthday before that comes, because your birthday is
Yeah,
April
it is.
24th.
That's right. Yes, right smack dab in the middle of Passover this year.
Lucky
So,
you.
possibly having a Seder on my birthday this year. Really
So
fun.
Nick, you're out in LA. From what I understand, you were born and raised there.
Yeah, I could. Did you guess that just from the Passover reference? Or?
So
So
tell me what
you're a Jewish screenwriter, so you're from Los Angeles, I take it. Yes.
tell me what, growing up in LA is like, and do you just naturally have to get involved in film if you're in LA and you
You
grow up
you
there?
have to. I tried
Yeah.
not to. I tried really hard not to and left for a little while. And but you get sucked back into your destiny. You have to. And Hanky Panky really came out of this is not a movie that would be possible not by a group of friends who grew up in LA, basically, because that's how we made a movie. Is we just most of us were from LA or moved to LA pretty young,
Yeah.
and like because of that, I was like, oh, all my friends are actors, or a couple of them can use a camera, so we
Yeah.
can make a movie.
So, but you've been in filmmaking for a while. Like this isn't, this film's new, but you've done numerous projects, right?
Yeah, and like a lot of our team that sort of we call the Happy Canyon Club, that is the group of us who made Hanky Panky, and we had done a lot of short films before this.
Okay.
We made a bunch of short films, a bunch of music videos, and like had we're all people who sort of work professionally one way or another somewhere in the industry. And so at some point we were like, we could do this, we can make a feature film, we could do it all by ourselves. Uh Somehow, I don't, so it's crazy, but yeah, somehow we did end up with a real movie at the end of the day, but by
Yeah.
the skin of our teeth.
So you worked a little bit in television and film, but this is like your first main feature. So what kind of roles have you had to perform in film and television?
I mean, the main, like I worked on a TV show for 5 years as a writer's assistant and then writer. And like I guess that's my most notable credit in film experience. But to be fair, that actually happened while I was editing Hanky Panky. So we had shot Hanky Panky right before that happened. And the post of Hanky Panky was this is one of the reasons it took a long time, as I was working on a TV show. There was working on a TV show. There was a pandemic. Lindsay and I, we had 2 kids during that time. So it was a lot.
You were busy.
We were busy. We made a lot of things, including a movie.
Yes. I found this interesting. You have a PhD in English.
That's what when I said I was running away really hard from trying to be in
Yeah.
film and television, that's what I was doing. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a bachelor's in English, so much less of a brag than a PhD.
I don't know if it's a brag. It is like it did get me my first PA gig in Hollywood because like it came down to like me and someone else for this is to get writer's coffee on a TV show, and the showrunner. This was a show called One Big Happy, which was a short-lived but I think above average NBC multicam sitcom, and the showrunner Liz Feldman. I didn't actually even get this from her. Her assistant later told me that the way that I was hired was, I had interviewed with the production coordinator and the line producer, and like, but what to get coffee, right? It's multiple interviews, and at the end of the day, Liz was like, "So who are the two best candidates?" And her assistant was like, "Well, I got these two," and she was like, "Hire the woman." She was like, "Wait, before you hire the woman, is there anything hilarious on the guy's resume that makes him stand out?" And she was like, "I don't know. He has a PhD in English. That's pretty funny." And she was like, "That is funny. Hire him." And so that's my big break into Hollywood was.
Yeah.
So the PhD did get me.
Did
something.
you like introduce yourself as Dr. Roth?
I didn't have to. Everybody made fun of me by calling me that
There you go.
definite Dr. PA, I think was what they called me.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, did you have intentions for what you wanted to use that for? Because other than like being a professor?
That's all you can use it for. That's what I wanted to do. I thought I'd convince myself that I wanted to be an English professor and, be smart and talk about books and have an office that was filled with books. I don't know.
Wear a cardigan.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Dr. Crane in Hanky Panky, my character, is very much a stab at making fun of the stupid version of myself that wanted to be like an intellectual. And I obviously went hard in the other direction.
So film, like being in film is kind of in your blood. I did read that your dad is actually also in filmmaking. Bobby Roth.
He's primarily a director. And so that's probably the other reason I was always hesitant to get into directing, but I really like writing. And my dad and I have worked together on a lot of stuff. I think we work well as a partnership because we agree on almost nothing. So when we do agree, it's probably a good solution. It's probably going to work for a lot of people because it's like that very thin Venn diagram of where our aesthetic overlaps. And so we've worked together and been on many crazy film adventures.
I was like impressed. I saw a little bit of his like filmography, and I was like, he directed some episodes of Prison Break, MacGyver, that show Revenge, and there was like a ton more.
Very prolific. He was actually directed, I think, 14 episodes of Prison Break. It was a lot. He was in there like main rotation.
Man, I was all about Prison Break when that first came out. That show was cool.
That show it opened a bunch of weird doors for him because it was very big overseas. And it was especially huge in mainland China for complicated reasons, but also not complicated reasons. It's like two heroic brothers falsely accused in a unjust carceral system or what. Anyway, but like not to get too deep into China on your podcast, but there was a huge hit there. And
a podcast just got flagged. It doesn't matter anymore.
Oh crap!
It's old already.
Everybody, we're all NSA's knocking at the door. And you can't suggest anything about why Chinese people might like the show Prison Break. Anyway, the show Prison Break was a big hit in China. Fact, not opinion. And so that did lead to us going to China and pitching on movies. And my dad and I have developed a lot of Chinese American co-productions, none of which have ever actually gotten made because of his resume boasting Prison Break exclusively. True story.
I don't even know where to go with that. You have a cool trademark that I read too, and that I'm like seeing you, and it like makes sense. Your trademark read frequently plays rebellious teenager punk rocker.
So obviously I am not a famous person, but I am just like D-list enough that somebody put a bunch of stuff on. Someone made me a Wikipedia. Somebody made me someone put some of this stuff on IMDb. I don't know who it is. And I definitely love whoever it is who like decided that my IMDb headshot should be like a still of me playing stoned mall clerk in a 2007 episode of Without a Trace where I had one line. Like, then that is now my main professional face for the world. I'm like 20 and playing literally stoned mall clerk. I think they eventually gave me the name Travis or something, which is, we're saying the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. I was just gonna say that's Stone Mall Clerk. That's awesome. So someone that you don't even know made that trademark for you, but it's
I think I
awesome.
put my own bio on there as like we
Yeah.
got to rein this in. I look like a maniac on the internet.
Uh, so Nick, tell our listeners basically what Hanky Panky is all about.
Yeah, that's easier said than done. Okay, what is Hanky Panky? Hanky Panky
That's
is
why I
a
asked you to do it.
I know. No one ever says, "Okay, let me help you out here."
Yeah.
Here's what your movie is. Uh it's a very genre bending sort of murder mystery, Christmas, comedy horror, rom-com about a man and his talking napkin, who's his best friend, who get invited accidentally to a family retreat in a snowy mountain cabin where mysteriously everybody starts to get killed, um, and the wacky hijinks ensue. But also, it's a story about him. Sort of, it's basically a story about having social anxiety at a dinner party
Mhm.
and having to overcome that to talk to the girl that you like. Which
Yeah.
is, I think, that's what it is for me. And then also, Seth Green plays the voice of a killer, murderous, evil
Yeah.
top hat. So there's which is also things that I'm interested in.
So, I mean, do you hear yourself when you're describing this film?
Yes, I do. I do.
This is like nuts. Like that plot line is all over the place, but you're exactly right that the film
Yeah.
encompasses all of that. Um, and somehow comes together in this, what is it, like an hour and 26-minute feature or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah. I've been told it's actually an hour 27 because
Okay.
it's goes just over 126.
That was
It's
a guess,
brisk.
actually. That's
Oh,
nice.
really?
Yeah.
Then you nailed it.
Thank you.
Yes.
So
It doesn't have a lot of credits. The end credits are quite short because there's only like 15 people who worked on this.
yeah. And I like that when you reached out when we chatted a little bit, you had kind of pitched this as like it's coming out on 420, so it's kind of been described as a stoner comedy.
I think it works very well sober, I hope. I was sober throughout the making of it,
There
mostly.
you go.
Not, I was probably the only one, but it is a film that I think will be improved with the I did look, I'm the one who pitched the distribution company. I was like, I think this has to either come out Christmas or 420. And we weren't in time for Christmas. So
Are you being honest? That's really how you pitched it?
yeah, I was like,
That's
I think
amazing.
could we release this 420? And they were like, yeah. I was like, okay, I hope I'm right. I don't know what I'm doing.
Um, tell me where the hell this idea came from. This is like this
I could, but
obviously
I
came
would
from
just be
multiple people,
bullshitting
right?
you. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think this is really like a collaboration of our group of friends. And it was really like we did a short that had a talking napkin in it, and then we were like, we want to make a feature, and we had the cabin, and so I was like, well, we're gonna do Clue with a talking napkin in the cabin, and everything from there just kind of just like rolled itself into existence like a
Yeah.
snowball. Like it was I don't remember who pitched what. I don't remember who came up with the idea that there should be a killer hat or that Lilith has a face on the back of her head and that's why we haven't seen her. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember if I can't take credit or blame anyone else for any of these things because we just kind of like spitballed them, and if stuff got a laugh, we were like, let's just go for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we had
Yeah.
nobody to tell us no. It was just a group of us who were hell bent on getting a very silly movie together. And so that's ultimately what we did. It made editing hard that we
Yeah.
did it that way, but eventually I think we sort of compressed it into the shape of something resembling a film.
Was this filmed like it was supposed to take place in Utah, I believe?
Mm-hmm.
Where did you guys actually film?
In Utah. Yeah,
You
we
did film in Utah.
Lindsay's dad is a composer and lives in a cabin in the mountains in Utah and also did the music for the movie. I think he actually composed the music for the movie in that cabin. So it's really
Nice.
like it's a cabin first film where we were
Yeah.
like, okay, what do we have? We grew up in LA and our friends are actors. We have access to a cabin, so we have to do a horror movie in a cabin. I think at some point, once that had been decided, it was like, so who can write the first cabin horror movie? In our group of friends, we'll shoot that one. And like 2 weeks later, I was like, guys, we're doing mine. And everyone was like, shit. All right, fine. Okay, let's get on board quickly with Nick's deranged idea.
I wish I could have been present when you were pitching this to everybody. That was probably amazing.
The pitch meeting where I was like, okay, listen,
Hear me out on this one, guys.
okay, so all the cast, everyone's got the names of Cheers.
Um, so Seth Green, you mentioned, is in this project, which,
Yeah.
obviously Seth Green, one of the most like notable faces ever. I don't think there's too many people who aren't familiar with him, whether you're a fan from it, back in the day, or Idle Hands, or just or any comedy that he's been in. There's just so many films that he's known for. How did you get him involved in this project? Is he one of
We're
your buddies?
Yeah, we're just friends. Like Lindsay and Seth's wife, Claire, who's also in the movie, who plays Kelly, met and became friends like 10 or 12 years ago, and that's how we met Ashley, who plays Diane, is through she was Claire's friend. So it was like this was just like a mishmash of a couple different friend groups that sort of came together. And Seth was like when we made this movie, we had only been friends with Seth for a few years, and so I didn't feel comfortable asking him to be in this film because it was too crazy. And I was like, I didn't want Seth to like think that like I was just trying to like we had just sort of been friends for a few years, and he's obviously much more famous than the rest of us. And so I was like, I don't let's just not ask him. And then after we did the movie, Claire told me that she was like, I think maybe Seth was like a little like felt left out that he didn't get to be in the movie. And I was like, well, he can be in the movie. Of course he can be in the movie. He can be in whatever movie he wants. But we'll put him in. But then also like secretly the whole time I had been like in the back of my head, I had written in the script that Harry has the voice of Skeletor, and I knew Seth's Skeletor voice quite well from his performance of it on Robot Chicken, and and just like while hanging out or whatever. And so it was always like somewhere in my head I was like, if Seth wants to be in the movie, we have something ready for him, but he doesn't have to. There's a lot of etiquette around like when your friend is famous, not wanting them like a lot of people ask them for shit, right? Like, so we were very cognizant of that.
And I also kind of get it. Like pitching an idea to Seth, seems like it would be very anxiety producing, considering like, the things, the projects he's been involved in. And then it's like,
it's true.
So there's a talking napkin.
I've pitched Seth a lot of really dumb shit. Like at this point, I just pitched him. And I think I can say this because he hasn't responded to it either way, so he doesn't have to go on record. But I was like, okay, in Hanky Panky 2, it'll be like the hat comes more into being, and so it'll be you. We'll make a giant top hat costume for you with just like your face cut out and your little legs like popping out from underneath the brim, and you'll be like a real person. And I think I got like a haha emoji on the text for it, like, which is enough. I'm like, great, I'm doing it. I'm writing it into the script.
He did this to himself. Basically.
Well,
he agreed to the first one. So
he did such a good job, I think, breathing life into him and Toby Bryan, who is who plays Norm, but he's also the voice of Woody, but he also did the puppeteering, and he designed a lot of the little. There's more special effects than you even think about in this movie. Like there's a point where when he breaks that glass, that has to be like fake glass. Like all of this had to get done by one guy. That's Toby. And so I think Toby and Seth together did a really, really wonderful job, like making what are, intentionally very rudimentary puppets. The napkin's just a fucking napkin. Like it is just a napkin. We bought it at the City Target in West Hollywood. But really like making it feel like an animate creature through the hand movement and vocal performance. And then, Seth, I think like I was basically like the directions that you give Seth when he comes in to do the voice of the hat are like, okay, so this is your wife and you're eating her soul out the top of her head now. And if you could like sing a little song while you do it, that would help because we need the song for this part. So action. And then Seth was so funny in the like I almost ruined a lot of it because I was like we did it was this mic like but like I was laughing pretty hard the entire time that he was just the amount I have of just audio of Seth pretending to be an evil killer top hat in Skeletor voice saying insane shit and taunting them is I could probably repurpose it for several more Hanky Panky movies.
You know, I appreciate how accessible he is, because there's this, I guess there would be this like notion that maybe, you know, he wouldn't make himself accessible to certain types of projects. But just within the last few years, I saw him on the It documentary. I believe he's on the Pennywise documentary. He went to Rhode Island Comic Con. So he was here this past year. And also he did like a few other indie, it was an indie horror Christmas movie, Creatures Were Stirring. I believe that was the one he was in. He was in one of those Christmas anthology movies. So I was like,
I did see that.
kinda
Him and Claire
surprised.
did it together. I'm forgetting the name of it.
Wait, was it Holidays actually? Was that the one he was in? Or
Maybe I did see it and liked it very much, but I
shit,
can't. But
remember.
now we're both blanking on the name.
Yes, but he was in one of those, and I was like, oh, that's cool that Seth Green is doing that, because it was good, and he adds something to things. So I'm glad that he's like willing to do different projects, and that just makes him like more likable to me. So
Yeah, I try to not bring him things until they're like pretty far along in how much I've thought them through,
yeah,
at least.
yeah.
So, but I, with the exception of Hanky Panky 2, which I'm trying to get off the ground already. So
There you go.
I'm hard pitching everybody on fun shit that'll go in the
Excellent.
sequel to our movie that hasn't come out yet.
I have to say, when I first saw the talking napkin, it immediately reminded me of a scene from one of my favorite, I guess you would call it a stoner comedy or just comedies. Have you seen Slackers with Devon Sawa?
Yeah, but it's been a minute. There's not like a, please don't tell me there's a talking napkin in
No,
Slackers that I
there's
forgot
not a
about.
talking napkin.
What is there?
Is the scene with Michael, I don't know how you say his last name, Morona, the guy from Adventures of Pete and Pete. He's singing She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain, and then all of a sudden there is a sock on his penis, and it sings back to him. And that scene reminded me of the napkin for some reason.
Certainly that shares, for some reason, yeah, it shares DNA with what
Well, the napkin's in the lap, so
Woody the nap. Yeah, he sits in your lap. He's a napkin.
Yeah.
He's incredibly body, wants to have his body used to clean up messes. Really, once you say we have a talking napkin horror movie, and you go, well, what would a napkin get off on? And it's like he has a fetish for cleaning messes. Like everything else in the movie just is straight. Like that's so silly. Like that's the one big, like almost everything else is just a logical consequence of that one very zany, stupid thing.
Yeah. All right. So kind of shifting a little bit. This, you know, we talked like this is a stoner comedy, horror comedy coming out on 420. I think when we were going back and forth email, I had mentioned like, oh, it'd be cool to kind of also highlight some of our favorite 420 or stoner horror films.
Yes.
So I want to ask you, I know you mentioned one in email, which I'll let you say. So what are some of your favorite ones, or ones that you feel like people should be checking out?
Well, the one that really, and I'm glad for this opportunity, because the one I really want to mention and informed like the spirit or tone in some way of Hanky Panky, even though they don't have a lot in otherwise in common, is The Stuff, which is Larry Cohen's 1985 masterpiece that deserves, I think, more attention than it's sort of appreciated, but in relatively niche circles. But I think it should be elevated to a larger cult status than it has earned, for being this just exceptionally energetic, zany, unique, crazy film where it just feels like it has this fever dream energy throughout. Like that's hard to put your finger on, but it's just it's this movie. It feels like it's making itself up as it goes and just getting wilder and crazier, and like every character is like, the performances are so, they feel like improv. It feels like actors are drunk. It feels like it's just like this like party in this movie it's a creature feature with yogurt. Like it's I guess that's kind of what we share with The Stuff, was like they made like Greek yogurt or ice cream or whatever. They're killer, and we did it with like a couple rudimentary pieces of clothing.
It probably got similar responses when it first came out, and they were like pitching this idea. I can imagine that it was probably like, what is killing everyone?
I think part of what I like about The Stuff, and maybe this is true somewhat of what we were trying to accomplish with Hanky Panky, is that like, even though there's some elements of it that are exceptionally silly, stupid, zany, whatever, really dumb, like it feels like they were never not trying 100% to pull it off, whether they pulled it off or not. Like that cast is incredible. Like, it's, you know, the amount of like Emmys and Tonys that have been won by, like, it's like Danny Aiello and Paul Sorvino and Michael Moriarty.
Yeah.
Like, all of these guys are great actors, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's phoning it in. Nobody's pulling any punches. Nobody is like, oh, this is stupid, so we'll make this too big on purpose. Like, they like Garrett Morris is incredible in this film. It's ridiculous, but like, but you know, so I can't. I can go on and on about the stuff endlessly.
It's a classic for sure.
I love it, and I guess I'll reveal this. We did what, like, every morning before shooting Hanky Panky, the stuff was what was on in the background, like while like at breakfast. Like, I would get up. Most of the time I remember most of the time I was making breakfast. I don't know if that's true. I don't want to take credit for if someone else made a lot of the breakfast. I remember
someone's listening to this so pissed off.
Yeah,
right now.
well, because everyone on the cast had to do, we all had to do everything, because it was just like 10 of us in a cabin. We all had to like pitch in to like make the food, hold the boom, do whatever.
Yeah.
But every morning while I was like making coffee and like getting set up for the day or whatever, I had this stuff playing on my laptop in the background. That was the like soundtrack to the, like, before we got started shooting Hanky Panky, the stuff. We just heard the stuff. I just wanted the like the echoing of the quotability of that movie in our zeitgeist.
It feels like what you're telling us is the perfect 420 double feature.
Oh my
Hanky
God.
Panky and the stuff.
Well, that, or so this movie, I don't know if you've heard about it, Sasquatch Sunset is coming out also.
Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah. Yep.
So this is, I think this is the Oppenheimer to our Barbie. Like, they can have the awards and the, like, we don't need that. What we want is to be the people's choice for the zany stoner movie coming out 420 weekend.
Perfect. Perfect.
Maybe they've got, you know, they've got an A-list celebrity who's not just a voice. Fine, I get it. Good. But I think maybe the double feature, I want to be like Margot Robbie and go see Sasquatch Sunset and take pictures of myself and be like, go see our movie too.
Yeah. I had a couple suggestions. So this one,
good.
TerraVision. Have you seen TerraVision?
No, I haven't seen. What's TerraVision?
This is an 80s film from Ted Nicolau, who also did the Subspecies movies and a lot of Full Moon Features movies. Features Diane Franklin of Better Off Dead with John Cusack. And it's like this creature comes from outer space and it is like transported into their living room through the TV. There's all these like crazy bonkers like parents and like stereotype characters. It is the most batshit crazy but fun movie you can watch. I think it goes really well with the theme of Hanky Panky here, with just like, what crazy ideas can we throw in here? It's also a creature feature. Idle Hands is another like 420 stoner comedy horror that I think is and Seth Green, so therefore, you know,
that movie was great. I haven't seen it in several years. Does it hold up?
You know what, I actually haven't either, but I back when it was released, I watched it like on repeat. Great cast too: Jessica Alba, Devon Sawa.
Yeah, it had that whole group of like just like iconic stars from that moment. I remember loving that movie. I don't think I've seen it since it was new, basically, though.
Yeah,
probably
and it's got
a rewatch.
It's got this whole cult following now too, so I feel like it's had like a second like rebirth as well. There's a film that came out either last year or the year before called 420 Massacre. That's just straight up 420ness, not so much the comedy aspect, but it's like I can't really remember what it's about, to be honest with you, but it wasn't too bad from what I remember. And then there's the whole Evil Bong franchise, which people should check out if you love smoking weed and crazy shenanigans. So just a couple.
Yeah, all of these sound like they would pair quite nicely with a double or more feature with Hanky Panky. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
we're all family members.
Exactly. And if you're dabbling with the Evil Bong movies, there's like 5 or 6 of them. So you got a ton you compare with Hanky Panky. So tell our listeners about like the release of Hanky Panky. What's going on? Is there any special screenings that you guys are going to be doing? I think you had sent us some dates for some in LA, so I'm assuming there's some.
So yes, but that is actually just like a private screening, so I probably shouldn't. And it's also a Thursday, so
okay.
But if you would like to come to that, yes, but probably not everybody.
Yes,
Anyway, yeah. So the movie comes out April 19th, which is a Friday. It's not perfect because I wish it came out on 420, but movies come out on Fridays, it turns
Yeah.
out. I don't know. I'm just learning this stuff. So the movie comes out Friday the 19th for your. It's really great that 420 is on a weekend this year. I assume it'll be major festivities on Saturday the 20th.
I can only imagine.
Apple, Amazon, Google. On Apple and Amazon, it's a global worldwide release. So it doesn't matter what country in the world you are, you get on your Apple TV, you can watch
Wait a
Hanky
minute.
Panky.
It's going to be in China?
That's a good, probably that's the only place it's not going to be. That's a good question. I have to look up. It'll be in India and Nigeria and like everywhere else.
They're going to be really upset
those
with
are
you
big
and your
markets.
dad if this isn't out there.
They're the people are clamoring for the next Roth and Son project.
Come on.
Never gonna
Damn
have known
it.
from the director. I mean, literally, if we could probably release it in China as like from the son of the director of Prison Break.
I love
comes.
that. I'm in too, actually, with that
People-
tagline.
All right, I'll see what I can do with that. I'm gonna pitch our distributor. Do we have inroads in China? If not, I do. And here is how we sell this movie in China. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, so it'll be on VOD on for 420 weekend, and then in the future there will be, we're planning some more events. Right now we're working on trying to put together something for Monster Palooza on May 31st. We're going to do something promotional at Monster Palooza in Pasadena at the Pasadena Convention Center. We'll have some kind of panel or presentation or something. I had initially pitched them. This is probably not what's happening, but what if we did a live table read of the entire script of Hanky Panky 2? And just to like build anticipation for it. And they were like, you can have an hour. And I was like, well, that is not enough to do the full table read for the whole movie. So we'll have some kind of panel presentation.
There's
maybe
27 more minutes, guys.
yeah, there's it's not quite as what I needed. I need 3 hours so that we can really ease everyone into it, do a full table read, then take a Q&A afterwards. They were like, you have from 9 p.m. till 10 p.m. So I was like, okay, that's what, we'll work with it. So we'll have some kind of presentation that also.
Have you done a con before?
No, never as a person who involved in any capacity.
You've dabbled in like attending?
Only little ones, and not this one, and not recently. So it's that I have no idea. Look, I'm just completely in over my head, and I have no idea what I'm doing, actually, now that you pointed out.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great time to be getting involved in a con because people are like, the horror community is really like thirsty right now to get it out there and go meet people, especially like indie horror is so hot right now.
People want more. There hasn't been as many indie horrors released this year. I just went and saw Late Night with the Devil in theaters, which was I thought really fun.
Yeah,
I'm glad glad I got to see it in a movie theater.
We were big fans of that one. Yeah, so I think that you're hitting it at the right time. So good luck with that. That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. We'll put on some kind of fun show that will include many very silly elements and possibly like at least some amount of table read of the. I'm already writing the sequel. I can't not be writing the sequel. It's too fun and silly a movie. And then the idea for the sequel is just that it's a bigger, more alien invasion heavy, lot more blood. Like I just want to go. Like I was like, what would we do if anybody gives us money? We're making this movie whether someone gives us money or not. But if someone wanted to put up some money, we would go really hard on just like I think the gore effects would really. That's where I want to put more cash on screen.
And like over the top gore, like just
well, I'm thinking
ridiculous.
listen, I am. Let me put it this way: one of the first short films that this team worked on, that Lindsay directed, that I wrote, did have an exploding head in it. But we've got a lot of background in, and also some really good neck slitting. That was a sci-fi horror short we made called Nano Blood, which has is really weird, and I think everybody did great except me. I think the script didn't make any sense and was bad, but I think everyone did a terrific job working with that. So, including some of the effects, which are great.
That might have been the worst self-promotion I've ever heard in my life.
It's terrible. I didn't know what I was doing. It's a bad script, but everybody who worked on it did a fantastic job covering for me.
Did an amazing job, except for me.
That's how I felt about that. Hanky Panky, I'm very proud of the editing that I did. I'll put it that way.
All right.
I'm not so sure. Me as an actor, people say it's okay, but writer director. Okay, but Lindsay and I edited it together, but we edited the fuck out of this movie. It is so well edited. You see it, you would know what I'm saying. It is perfectly edited, and we deserve an award for editing, which is the only award that we'll for sure never receive.
Nick, anything else that you want people to be on the lookout for, or that you hope to be promoting at some point, or where people can find you?
Yeah, I'm also writing a Jewish Hanukkah horror movie called Dreddle. So that's my next spec.
Okay.
I don't know what it is yet, but I really want to write a Hanukkah horror movie, and
You
I think
should.
I have
You
the
should.
title, right? So now I have to.
Yeah.
That's
You have
it. Mostly Hanky Panky 2. Well, Hanky Panky 1, Hanky Panky 2, etc.
Where can people find social media stuff about you or your Hanky Panky projects?
HankyPankyTheMovie.com, or we're at Hanky Panky Movie on pretty much like on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn,
Okay. Awesome.
Facebook, the YouTube.
TikToks.
We're a little hard to find, only because if you just Google Hanky Panky, you get there's an underwear company called Hanky Panky. It makes sense. I get it. And we can't compete with them when it comes to search engine optimization. It's just thongs. It's thongs for days. And we can never beat so you got to search for Hanky Panky Movie. Then there's an old one, but we're going to beat them.
Yeah. I was just going to say, wasn't there like an 80s or maybe late 70s, like comedy, but like
Yes.
with like just girls in bikinis and probably guys playing softball at a
I'm gonna
camp
be
or something
I'm gonna
like
be
that?
honest. It's Gene Wilder and Gilda Radner. I've never seen it. It's
Oh,
called Hanky Panky. It's from the early
Gene
80s.
Wilder. Wow.
It's been a widely ignored Sidney Poitier film from the early 80s that everybody said was really bad, and I intentionally have never seen it because I didn't want to accidentally get anything from it once I realized that we were making a movie called the same thing.
Well, wise choice. Now you can watch it after Hanky Panky 2.
I got to finish. Well, and then Hanky Panky 3 Hat Trick, and then after that, I'll go back and watch all of the other films called Hanky Panky.
And then eventually Hanky Panky meets Evil Bong, and then so on and so on.
My phone line is open if the Evil Bong people would like to call me. For the
Nick,
Puppet Master franchise, whatever.
We're big fans of Full Moon, so maybe maybe they'll hear this and they will give you a call. So hopefully we'll see that in the future.
Yeah, Hanky Panky the movie at gmail.com is just forwards to my regular Gmail. So
Nick, thank you for doing this. Thank you for allowing us to check out Hanky Panky. It was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed this. But also, I hope that everybody is able to, enjoy their 420 weekend with some good comedy, and just like have a good time and turn the brain off for a minute. Don't try to make sense. Just allow it to exist.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot to be said if you want to watch a sequel or quadquel to one of your favorite franchises, and there's many of those options this year. But Hanky Panky, something very original.
Yeah,
it's unlike anything else that you'll watch.
That is the truest statement that I've heard today.
It is nothing if not unique. Fact.
Yes.
Prison Break, huge in China. Hanky Panky, unlike any other movie you're going to watch this year.
There's only two things you can trust that you've heard here right now. It's those two things.
These are not controversial statements.
Everybody, Hanky Panky 419. Watch it for your 420 weekend on anywhere you can rent VOD. Check it out, and we will see you later. Everyone, have a great night and have a safe 420.
Thank you so much.